Okay, shalom, my friends. Good to vach. There's a lot of things going on right now in the world. One thing that everybody has to know is today is Dalet Shvat, the fourth day of the Hebrew month of Shvat, which means that it's the Yurtzeit, it's the day of the passing of the Baba Sali. The Baba Sali was one of the greatest sages, Kabbalists that existed in the last few centuries. You probably know him looking like this more. Okay, everyone see that? But I want to just give you a picture of what he looked like when he was young. This picture gives me like the chills, just seeing it. He grew up in Morocco. He would basically go into the desert for like weeks on end and just talk to God, and in the way of his ancestors who would just lose themselves in the desert. And this is back before 5G. This is back when everything was off the grid, if you know what I'm saying. And here's a person who just plunged into the secrets of Kabbalah, from the lineage of the Abu Chatzera family, who were renowned as some of the greatest Kabbalists ever. His great grandfather, the Abir Yaakov Abu Chatzera, was of the greatest Kabbalists ever. In the time of the Baal Shem Tov, it was known that they would meet each other on flying carpets. In Morocco, they had flying carpets. In Europe, they had flying wagons. So, if anyone thinks that this is amazing, the same God that could split the sea and make 10 plagues can also let certain righteous people fly on carpets and fly on wagons. If you know how to do that, and Hashem gives you permission to do that. The Baba Sali was renowned, there's some classic pictures, to give out arak. And it was known that he would give out arak, oftentimes from a paper bag. The bottle was in a paper bag, and people would come to him, people who are alive today, who went to him, and he would be sitting like at a tish with everybody there, just pouring arak. It was a classic scene, just everybody together. He would basically have a tish, a table with different treats and fruits and nuts, and people would come to him. It would go on like for days like this, and he would pour arak from the bottle, just non-stop. And there was hundreds of people that would come to him, and he would just keep pouring from the bottle. So one of the guys today is giving out arak. So at one point he said, I want to give out to the whole yeshiva, maybe I need more. So one of the rabbis said, if you're really a chassid of the Baba Sali, you only need one bottle. You don't need more for the whole yeshiva. If you're really, in the lineage of the Baba Sali, one bottle will cover you. Don't worry about it. Now, why are we talking about the Baba Sali so much? Because on the day of Tzaddik's Yurtzeit, on the day of the Tzaddik's passing, his energy comes into the world, and you can access that. You can get close to that, and essentially you can receive that energy inside of you, and you want to be close to the Baba Sali. One thing about the Baba Sali, he was totally close to the people. He was somebody that everybody felt close to, even the common folk. They would come to him, religious, not religious. They would come to the Baba Sali for blessings, for Yeshuas, and he would welcome everybody. The way it was, you could see, there's kippas, there's no kippas, there's colorful kippas, there's whatever you want. The Baba Sali had everything going on. And I have been privileged to go to the children of the Baba Sali, the Busu family who live in Har Nof. The daughter of the Baba Sali lives in Har Nof. So I remember being there. She's about 90 now, maybe. I remember being there when I was a bacher. I used to go as much as I could just to be around them. We're talking about the daughter of the Baba Sali, which means she saw stuff. She remembers one time that her father he was in the bathroom, and all of a sudden they heard like this scream, and the Baba Sali like busted the door down, like classic, fireman, ran out. Why? So it was later described that the Baba Sali had a moment that he felt that Mashiach might come this second, and he couldn't accept it, that he would be in an impure place, a makom tumah, at the moment that Mashiach would come, that he would be in the bathroom. So at that second, his impulse would be just bolted out of the bathroom, because it couldn't be that the coming of Mashiach, the second of that arrival, should be linked together with something impure. The Baba Sali would say Shema. It would take him about half an hour to say Shema. Like he would say Shema Yisrael, and then, not like an Ashkenazi, he was Sephardi. He would say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Baruch Shem. That was about half an hour, with kavanas, with all the secrets of the universe, and the rest of the Hafta was relatively, regular. We're talking about somebody not from this world. Just get you look at pictures like this, the way he grew up in Morocco. It was a different world then. What did you do all day? Learn Kabbalah. What did you do the next day? Learn Kabbalah. Were there any distractions? Was there any cinema theater? Was there any Times Square? There's none of that. You slept under the night sky, watched the stars, meditated on the Zohar and the Arizal, non-stop. It was a different world. And one of the amazing things about the Baba Sali is, in so much that he was beyond this world, there's you might call it a risk. Because once you start to leave the world and go into the higher universe, there's a risk that you become less relatable to people down here. With the Baba Sali, it was the exact opposite. The more that he became not of this world, because he went into the true world, people just seemed to feel more and more relatable to him, because he was able to translate what was happening to make everybody feel so welcome. On the day of the Yurtzeit, it's a known thing, like we mentioned, that the soul of that tzaddik becomes more available. And there's something called Ibr Neshama, which means that Ibr Neshama means that your soul can actually fluctuate. Your soul is not stagnant. Your soul can become greater, or could shift throughout the course of your life. Specifically, if you spend time thinking about certain people, you can bring that energy into you. So a person who spends his days thinking about, like we mentioned, Dr. Dre, Biggie Smalls, so Biggie becomes, part of his vibe. I would highly recommend against that. I personally think it's a much better idea to spend your days, especially on the day of the Yurtzeit, thinking about the Baba Sali, because you can glean from his energy. You can draw from that essence, especially on the day of the Yurtzeit. And we say, like we've mentioned so many times, that tzaddikim, here's a good picture of him. I like that one in the corner there. Certain smile there that's not from this world. The Gemara says that tzaddikim, that the righteous, afilu b'misasam nikram chayim, when the righteous die, they're called alive. And the wicked people, even when they're alive, they're called dead. Because to be alive doesn't mean that you have a pulse. We wish everyone should have a long life until 120 years, B'ezrat Hashem. But when we talk about life, b'chart b'chayim, Hashem is not saying choose life, just choose to be alive. It's obviously that also. But when he says choose life, Hashem means choose the tree of life. Choose Torah. Eitz chayim hi l'machazikim ba. It's a tree of life for all who grasp it. You have to grab on tight. And the tzaddikim who are living this tree of life, and of course the Baba Sali has his Yurtzeit in Shvat, which is a whole beginning, getting into Tu B'Shvat, a whole beginning, getting into the real secrets of what's going on. He lived a world that he was in this world, but not of this world. and he brought people up into a very, very high place. Now this is all a prelude to continue in the piece in Reb Nachman, Kuf Nun Gimel. So if you have the Sefer, let's open back up to Kuf Nun Gimel. We're talking about going to see the Tzaddik. Talking about going to receive what we call Kabbalah's Pnei Tzaddik. And we mentioned that this is of course related to Rosh Chodesh. When you see the moon is only a reflection of the sun. So says Reb Nachman, Kuf Nun Gimel, Inyan Kabbalah's Pnei Talmid Chacham. What does it mean to go and see the face of the Tzaddik? You can also see, so to speak, the face, the light, the energy of the Tzaddik, even when he's not in this world. That's what we really mean, is that his light is shining. The light of somebody who passes away, on the day that they pass away, their light is shining again. And if you open yourself up to it, you could be a reflection of that light. And you could, so to speak, receive. Kabbalah, what does Kabbalah's panim mean? To literally receive the face. What does that mean? To receive the face. I go to my Rebbe to receive the face. Whose face am I receiving? If I really am able to polish my own face and make it like a shining mirror, I could receive his face on mine. And the Rebbe, if the student is purified enough, should be able to see his own face in the student. Just like a mirror. That's what it means, that the sun could see its face in the moon, because the moon is clear enough that it could reflect. But if a person's face is dark, so there's no reflection. So one of the signs that the student is the Rebbe comes to the student and he doesn't see his reflection in the face, it means that the student is not yet receiving. He's not doing Kabbalah's panim. So the Baba Sali is looking down right now, and whoever's ready, whoever's open to it, the Baba Sali sees his own face in us. You want to have that face. I'll tell you this, you want this face. My favorite one, this is a face. This is like, you want that in your face. You know, this man knows what life is all about. I don't know if Joe Biden knows what life is all about, but I'll tell you, this person knows what life is all about. This is the face you want shining in your face. This is the Baba Sali, my friends. This is no jokes. Okay? So look inside. Says the Heilige Reb Nachman. Ki halavana ein la'or me'atzma klal. I want to see a little bit inside for the next 15 minutes. So just now is the time to open up your Likutei Moharan and let's get some serious learning inside. The moon has no light of itself. Raki mekabelas or me'ashemesh. The moon only has a light that it receives from the sun. Hainu al yidei shahalavana hi kamara meluteshes. Through the fact that the moon is like a polished mirror, that it's open, that it's able to receive the light of the sun. Al yidei ze mekabelas or me'ashemesh. Through this, the moon is able to receive the light from the sun. And because the moon is open, is so to speak polished, is like a mirror, it's able to receive the light from the sun and reflect that light for us here. But if the moon would not be polished, we're speaking also conceptually here, don't think about like scraping down the moon and polishing her. But if the moon conceptually would not be polished, would it reflect anything? No, it would all be black. It's like if you have a mirror and the mirror is dark, is black. Can the mirror show your reflection? When a person passes away, we cover up the mirrors with a cloth. Can you see a reflection in such a mirror? No, because the mirror has been darkened. You're not able to see a reflection in it. Only when the mirror is polished. And to the degree that the mirror is polished, you can see your reflection more clearly, more brilliantly. V'chein haTalmid v'harav. So too it is with a Rebbe and a student. Hein bechinas chama v'lavana. The Rebbe is like the sun. The Rebbe is shining down a light of Torah. And the student is the one, if he polishes his face, if he's open, he'll be able to shine the light of the Torah. Like he speaks about in many places in Likutei Moharan. And if the student has a polished face, and if the student has a face that has light, that's glowing, the student has polished it, which means that he's purifying himself, and he's looking for Hashem, and he's not getting involved with all of the trivialness of this world. He's looking for something bigger, from something more sublime. And he's polished his face. As a yachal kabel upon him, then he's literally able to receive the face of the Rebbe. He's makabel upon him. The simple meaning of being makabel upon him means you go to your Rebbe and you visit him. But you'll notice in Pnimius HaTorah and Kabbalah, it's very detailed. When it says Kabbalah's panim, it literally means to receive that face. Your Rebbe's face goes on to you. So I don't want my Rebbe to be Biggie Smalls. I'd rather my Rebbe be the Baba Sali and receive Baba Sali face, as opposed to the other option. Lekabel or Pnei Arav, to get the light, like the Rebbe is like the sun, to get the light of the Rebbe. And therefore, if a student is really open and has polished his face, the Rebbe should be able to see his face in the student. I always hope when I go to see my Rebbe that he can see himself in my face, that I'm being makabel, I'm receiving my Rebbe's face, because I want that. I want to makabel his panim. My Rebbe's face has a lot of light. I want to receive that. So we're always trying to polish our faces that we could receive that light. Kamoi b'chol amar meluteshes shekol ha'oimid kenegdo royas atzam b'toich amar v'chein mechuyev gam kan. So too it is when you stand beside a mirror, you see your reflection. When the Rebbe stands beside the student, if this face has been polished like a mirror, the Rebbe should see his face in the student. And then literally the Talmud, just like on the mirror, right? What do you see in the mirror? You see the Rebbe's face there. We're hoping that Baba Sali is looking down and seeing lots of Baba Sali energy. Not that he needs this, it's we want this. We want the Baba Sali's light. You literally receiving his face. And this is what it means to receive the face of the Rebbe. Kabbalas panim. Hainu kabbalas panim mamish kanir la'el. You're literally taking the Rebbe's face. You're receiving it. When you sit by Rav Yegoda, you want Rav Yegoda's face. When you sit by Rav Rasmus, you want the face. By Rav Shiva, you want that. You makabel the panim. You want that. It's only if the student has a face. Reb Nachman talks a lot of times, oh, it's so deep. That one of the big reasons why this is so deep, people are having a hard time now finding their soulmates, finding the women that they want to marry and the men that they want to marry, is Reb Nachman says people don't have faces anymore. And therefore they're looking around, they can't see each other's faces because the faces have not been polished. So they can't see. So even though they might be on a wonderful date, but they can't see their face, the face has become darkened. So you have all these singles that are trying to find each other, and they might even be sitting across each other, having a cup of coffee, but the face is not filled with light, so they can't see the face. We want to have a face filled with light, polished, mikvah, learning, all the things like we talk about all the time. They're going to purify us and bring light to the face and polish the face, that it should be like a mirror, that we can receive that light. Receive the light of the sun, which is an analogy for the light of something bigger. If we don't have that polished face, that God forbid our face is dark, then just like a mirror, if it's dirty, it can't receive the image of the one looking into the mirror. If the moon would, so to speak, be blackened, it would never be able to shine the light of the sun. And the face of the Rebbe could never go into it. Like when you stand opposite something which is very darkened and coarse, you don't see yourself in it. Like this table, you don't see yourself in this table. It's dark, it's coarse, but in a mirror, it's shining, it's polished. You see yourself with brilliance. Rav Nachman just drops a bomb. If the Rebbe looks into the student and he doesn't see his face, it's a sign that the student is lost in the desire for greed of wealth. Interesting. That he has become overcome. Of course, there's a lot of things that can make a person, God forbid, with a dark face, but Rav Nachman seems to be pointing out the overwhelming darkness of a person's face comes when he is chasing, like a crazy man, money. That he becomes meshugana about getting as much money as possible. Ki im ein royes atzmai ba yodeh shu bechinas anrim chashoichin shu bechinas hameshuku betayvus mammon. A guy who's money. Not for good things. He just needs money. Like the Gemara says, he has 100. What does he want? 1,000. 200. He has 200. What does he want? 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. All the time, money. Why? Because money. Why? Money. But your kids need you to put them to bed. I got stuff going on. Sorry. Money. I'm doing it for you. Yeah, sure. Money all the time. K'mavor b'makom acher. V'chein kol echad neged chavera efshar lo ladas al dei zeh. Ki kol echad sheyotze metayvus mon yosem echaveroi. And a person could see, the more that you're out of this taiva, this gluttonous, greedy desire just for money, more than anybody else, you're called a tzaddik compared to that person. Of course we need money, but we're not like, I need it, all the time thinking about it. You know when you get your money? On Rosh Hashanah. That's when you get your money, for the whole year. And this is what it means at Har Sinai. We'll do the last 5 minutes very quick. And this is what it means that Hashem spoke to us face to face at Mount Sinai. What does that mean? This would take us like a month just to speak out what this means, because this is very deep. We're going to try and do it in like 2 minutes. Hainu b'shas matan Torah, hay Yisrael b'chinas anten nihirin. When we received the Torah at Mount Sinai, it says that the venom of the snake was completely taken out of us, and our faces became totally pristine and pure. And therefore, when it means that Hashem was face to face with us, it means, so to speak, when God looked into Klal Yisrael's face, Hashem saw himself. Which means we received God's face. We don't really know what that means, but it's really good. That we know. That's really good. That's like the best there is, and that was what it was before Adam ate from the tree. Okay, that's really good, my friends. And when Mashiach comes, it's going to be back to that. And even higher. That's really good. We are able to receive the holiness of Hashem's face, so to speak. Hashem doesn't have a face like us. He has the idea of a face, which means warmth and bracha and blessing and that Hashem's face was with you, was in you. We received Hashem's face. And this is what it means, Dibar Hashem imachem. Shehadibur hayimedaber im kol echad. Hashem was speaking with, inside of us. The Yotzim kol echad Yisrael was literally shining in our faces. Inside of it, we received Hashem's face, so to speak. Panim bepanim dibar Hashem aleichem mitoich ha'esh. Ach mishu azis panim. Reb Nachman ends this in a crazy way. If God forbid a person is an aziz panim. What does aziz panim mean? Brazen faced. Means he's dark. He does brazen things. Aziz panim. A brazen face, a very haughty, and he gives a certain look, and he's brazen. He does things that are just not appropriate, and he makes himself the center of everything. Ein loy panim de kedusha. He has shut off his face from being able to receive that light. The Eini Yochel Lekabel Panim, he's not going to be able to receive that special light of the ultimate face Hashem. Al Kain Amar Rabbi Sein Zechon Levracha. That's why the Gemara says in the Dharm, Daf Chaf. The Gemara says in the Dharm, Kol mi sheyesh le azus, a person who's a brazen individual, haughty, brazen. He does very self-centered things. He gives you this face like the opposite of this. You see the humility on this face? You see the godliness on this face? Whoever has the opposite of this face, I don't want to read you the rest of the Gemara. It's known that his forefathers did not stand at Mount Sinai, which means he's not part of Zer Yisrael. He's not part of the Jewish nation. Because it can't be. Because if they were there, he would have a panim de kedusha. Because at Mount Sinai we got Hashem's face, kaviyachol. We got such a thing, and therefore it can't. And that face went into us so deeply, the opposite of azus. And therefore Chazal say, if a person's really brazen, it's a sign there's something off. This is not halacha l'maisa, but it means at least for us to think about if there's something that we're maybe a little more brazen. We need to polish ourselves down. We should be zaycha chevra to mamish, receive the face of the tzaddikim. Should be le'ilu nishmas, the Heilige Baba Sali, Rabbi Srobim, Rabbi Suad, and all the tzaddikim. We should receive their faces. We should receive the faces of kedusha, and Bezrat Hashem ultimately to be mekabel the panim of Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'mehera v'yameinu. Amen. Amen. Wonderful week, chevra.